right, all right. So how are you all doing? Yeah, good. All right. Well, that was a little weak, a little weak. Is it too warm or what? Too warm out there? It's a little stronger. Not enough ice cream? It's getting better. All right. Well, it's good to be here and have an opportunity to spend a few minutes talking to you guys and sharing with you. So my subject, as you can see, is character, and the subtitle is "Who Are You?" Character, who are you? See, we enjoy watching a good movie, right? Or a good play or a good drama. When it's done well, it's it's enjoyable, right? You get into the story, you kind of just start to feel like you're part of that or you're in that story. When it's done well, it just pulls you in. What's your favorite movies that you've seen where you've really felt like you got pulled into the story of the movie or the drama? Or anybody have Endgame? Never seen it. Strike musical. Okay. Come on, you got to do some old stuff, something that I know. Lord of the Rings. Never seen it. Anybody else? You got to go real old. Uh, I'll show you an example of old pretty soon. Pearl Harbor. I've seen that one. Cool Runnings. There we go. Now we're talking. Yeah. Whoever hasn't seen Cool Runnings is just missing out. Missing out in life. It's good. So here's the big question that I have today. Big question is, are you building character or are you playing a character? So when we're acting and when we're doing plays, stuff like that, we want to be good at playing a character. That's what makes it good. That's what makes it special. That's what makes it exciting. But in real life, it's not quite what we want to do. We don't want to be concentrating on playing a character. We want to actually build a character. There's characters in the Bible that you know about that were playing a character at times in their life. When Abraham went to this one place and he knew that his wife Sarah was a beautiful lady, and he was afraid that this king or this guy that was ruling that area would want to take her as his wife. So he said to her, "Pretend that you are my sister. Don't tell the truth, but play a character. Play a character in this story, right? Pretend that you are somebody else than you are." And it got him into trouble. It got Abraham into trouble, and so later the king or that ruler was quite upset with him that he would have told his wife to pretend that she wasn't who she really was. And so we could go on, and a lot of other stories. Jacob and Esau. Jacob pretended to be Esau, right? To get the blessing that Esau should be getting as the firstborn. And so Jacob went and got himself fur from an animal, and I guess Esau must have been a very furry guy to feel like fur. Not somebody I've ever seen, but hey, back then they may have been that way. And here he comes, and his father being blind and not being able to see, he feels this person in the arms and all that, and it feels like Esau, and he smells him because Esau was an outdoors guy. He was out there. He was hunting. He was fishing. He was doing things outside. So he had this smell of being outside. And so Jacob, with this fur that he had put on and all that, he smelt right. And finally, he convinced his dad that he wasn't who he was, but he convinced his dad that his dad thought he was Esau, right? And so he stole the blessing. And so he had lots of trouble in his life with being a deceiver, right? And playing a character rather than building character. Now later on, God straightened him out in many different ways, and he became very important in the lineage of Jesus, right? And Abraham, or in the lineage of Joseph and Jesus' family, right? So God still redeemed the situation, but the question that I want us to ask ourselves today, are we building character, or are we playing character? It's easy to play a character when you're in today's world, on social media, for example, we can pretend that we are somebody that we really aren't, right? We can put all the best pictures up. We can put all the high moments of life. We can put all the exciting things that we experience. And we tend to kind of leave out the other parts of life. And then we get this impression of somebody that maybe they have their life together way more than they really do, because we see all the good things that are going on in that person's life. So my first point is this, that fake is only attractive from a distance. See, fake is it only looks good from a distance. You ever bought something that you thought was a real quality, and then when you start using it, or you start, playing with it, then all of a sudden you find out, oh, this looks good, but it's not built good. We used to have the first quad that we bought the boys, I think it was for their 7th. Was it your 7th birthday? 6th or 7th birthday. So we bought this nice shiny quad. I mean, it looked cool. It was nice. But unfortunately, it was made in China. And so it was probably the first or second day, lights started falling off. Various pieces of the quad came off. And it didn't help that there was a couple of rednecks on there, but nonetheless, you found out that this thing wasn't built like a Honda or a Polaris or a Yamaha, right? This thing was built to look good in the showroom, but once you put it to the test, things fell apart. And that's a little bit of a picture of if we're too concerned about playing a character in our life, then it kind of starts to work this way in our lives. And so we want to build character and not play character. See, when we're trying to be somebody that we're not, we get exhausted because we're trying to live two different lives. There's the life of who we really are, and then there's the life that we are pretending to be. And that's exhausting. That's hard work, maintaining two lives, so to speak. We get frustrated because we can't give 100%, because we're always kind of dividing between what's real and what's fake, right? And so we're trying to keep both things alive. And so, I remember many times in my life where I was trying to be somebody that I really wasn't. And I thought I would save myself trouble if I would pretend this. But I found out later that really the best life, even though sometimes it makes for hard decisions, is to be genuine, is to be authentic, is to be building character, not playing character. See, if we are playing character, we have to always watch out that we don't get caught. All of a sudden we let our guard down and somebody sees that, oh, well, you're not really that person that I thought you were, or we're hurting people because at times maybe we have to lie about who we really are, or we have to put on a false front. So that's what fake looks like. It's only attractive from a distance. And when people really get to know us, they want to see the real us. That's what they appreciate in us, right? The real who we are. Even if that brings, our mistakes and our failures, our weakness, even if it brings that out, but people value that, right? And God values that. He desires for us to be honest before Him. And so when we're honest before Him, then He can help us with the areas where we're maybe trying to work on our character, right? And we're all doing that. None of us has it all together here in this earth. We're all working on our character, working on who we are, and trying to become more like Christ in our life. And that's ultimately what our measuring stick is, right? Where Christ wants us to be and what the Word of God says that we are in Him. And so, as I said, we want to be building character, not playing character. See, it's easier to be an actor than to be authentic. It's easier to be an actor than to be authentic. Now, great actors seem very authentic in their acting, and so I'm not talking about doing a play, and some of you have been in plays, right? Sure you've been. Yeah. And you do a fantastic job, and you want to play your part very well because it's awesome. It's great. But in real life, it's often easier to be an actor than to be authentic. Because being authentic makes for some hard decisions sometimes. Being authentic means taking some hard steps sometimes. See, an actor can act according to the circumstances. Being authentic is living according to your values, even though the circumstances are difficult, right? So that's the difference in real life between being an actor and authentic. Aaron Rodgers, anybody like football around here? Aaron Rodgers is a football player in the NFL, or he was, I think he still is. And he said that authenticity is everything. You have to wake up every day and look in the mirror, and you want to be proud of the person who's looking back at you. And you can only do that if you're being honest with yourself and being a person of high character. You have an opportunity every single day to write the story of your life. That's what he says. Building character has a price, but the reward of living authentic and an honest life far outweighs the cost. So at the end of the day, we feel much more fulfilled when we're really authentic about who we are, right? Have you found that in your life? If you've been able to share with somebody who you really are, and not just what you'd like them to think that you are, there's freedom in that, right? There's like, okay, now this person knows who I am, and I don't have to hide from this person. Helen Keller, she was, anybody know who Helen Keller was? Yeah, a few of you. She was blind, and she wrote a bunch of stuff and so on, but early in her life, because she was blind, she went through very difficult circumstances. In fact, the way I understand, there was a time where people thought she was crazy because she was blind and had difficulties. And she said that character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. See, that's when we go through difficult times, that's what God wants to do in our life. He wants to build character in us. He wants to grow us in ways that are hard sometimes, but that's how we grow. John Wooden used to be a coach, an NBA coach in the U.S., and he said, be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. Your character is who you really are, while your reputation is what people think you are. So your character is what you want to focus on. And a couple of verses here that I want to quickly look at. Luke 12:2. Hopefully you can read that. It says, the time is coming when everything that is covered up will be revealed, and all that is secret will be made known to all. Whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light, and what you have whispered behind closed doors will be shouted from the rooftops for all to hear. So Jesus says that, we may be able to hide things for a while in life, and lots of people are good at hiding things. Lots of people are hiding things in their life, and so we think that maybe we'll get away with it then. But Jesus says that, a day is coming when everything will be revealed, right? So I think he's encouraging us to let's be proactive in building our character, and not hiding who we are and the things that we don't like. Let's work on them. And the good news is we don't have to play a character in life. We can choose to build it instead. Paul says to Titus in another passage, Titus 2, verse 7 and 8 says, "And you yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Teach the truth so that your teaching can't be criticized. Then those who oppose us will be ashamed and have nothing bad to say about us." See, Titus was a young leader in the church, and Paul is saying to him, you must be an example to others by doing good works of every kind, and to reflect integrity and the seriousness of your teaching. Says, teach the truth so that your teaching cannot be criticized. See, when we're authentic and when we are who we are, people can say things about us, but the truth speaks louder than what people say. The truth of who we are and how we live speaks louder than somebody trying to, pull us down. And in fact, Paul is saying that when we live truthfully and in good character, he says that people won't even be able to rightfully criticize, right? I mean, Jesus is the top example of this, but when he was brought before Pilate and he was being accused of things, and they had trouble finding somebody that could bring anything against Jesus that would be worthy of punishment, right? And finally they came up with this thing, and they said, well, he claims to be the Messiah or the King of the Jews, and he claims that he will, die and rise again, and there was things said. And so finally they put a sentence on him because somebody was lying about the real truth of who he was. Now, Jesus was the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, but the way they were trying to present it was that he would come and overthrow the Roman government. That's what they wanted it to, that's how they wanted to get this ruler to punish Jesus and to crucify him, right? And then another thing that Paul wrote in Ephesians 5 says here, carefully determine what pleases the Lord and take no part in the worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them. It is shameful even to talk about the things that ungodly people do in secret, but their evil intentions will be exposed when the light shines on them. So, again, Paul is saying, you know what? Being authentic, being really who you are, living who you are, that is worth doing. And not to live in secret and not to play a character, but rather to build a character. And so then the third thing is this: building character brings freedom. Building character brings freedom. How does that bring freedom? See, when we get it right, we don't have to hide anymore. We don't have to hide those areas that maybe we're ashamed of, or maybe, we're scared somebody's going to think less of us if we're honest. We don't have to hide anymore if we build character. We can let go of stress, anxiety, fear of living a life that is not authentic. See, we have a lot of stress in our life when we're trying to portray ourselves as being somebody who we really aren't. That's hard work. That's tough. That's stressful. We feel the confidence of knowing that we don't have to be perfect, but we are getting better every day. See, authenticity and building character doesn't mean we have it all together. It doesn't mean that we will never mess up or that we'll never slip, that we'll never make a mistake. But it means that when we do, we're honest about it, right? We're authentic about it. We're not trying to hide who we are, but we're rather saying to God, God, you see me, you see my weakness. I want you to help me to grow my character in this area of my life. And then your friends, your family, your parents, they all want to help us, each of us, to grow our character. God will use us to show people the power of living with integrity and authenticity when we build character and not play character. So let's choose to, by the grace of God, let's choose to do that in our lives. Let's choose to let God build character inside of us and build us, mold us into who His plan is for us to be, right? We're living in His plan for us, and then we're continually growing in our character and in our ability to grow in the way He wants us to. So then back to the question I asked at the beginning. Are you building character or playing character? So let's take a little bit of time and let's look at these. I think tonight we're not having small group discussions, but I want to take these 4 points here, and I'll pull them up now. Oh, they're not there? Okay. Yeah, so then I'm just maybe I'll just quickly mention them, and then think about these 4 things. Think about number 1. What characteristics do you find attractive in people? What characteristics do you find attractive in people? When you see honest, authentic people, what makes that attractive to you? And number 2 is, what kind of character do you want to build in your life? What kind of character do you want to build in your life? Third, who has God created you to be? Who has God created you to be? And then 4th, what is your plan to build character in your life? See, we can desire to make changes, or we can desire to grow in our life, but we also have to have a plan to do it, right? If we don't have a plan, the saying goes like, everywhere you go, you end up by default or by design. So if you don't have a plan, you're going to end up somewhere by default. But if you have a plan, you can put direction to your life.